Hello, my name is Sue Moore. I'm a sexual addiction specialist with Forgive and Much Ministries. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. At this time, I'd like to give special thanks to Melissa Haas, Mark and Debbie Lacer, Jean Blackburn, and Dr. Bill Dwyer with Bowen Theory Education Center, as well as Life Recovery International, for all their work establishing the foundation for this exercise that uncovers and begins to heal the core issues that drive the addictive condition. First, we'll begin addressing the connection between addiction and emotions by briefly examining the science behind the emotional and intellectual system using Bowen theory. Then, I will demonstrate the use of both the basic and advanced reflective listening worksheets and close with the intimate conversation starter. Emotions and addiction. What's the big deal? What is the big deal about getting in touch with your emotions anyway? In this video, we're going to establish where emotions come from, why identifying feelings is so important to the recovery process, and how working through the reflective listening exercise is an effective recovery tool for becoming known. First, understand that addiction is an intimacy disorder driven by a valid unmet need. For more information on this, please refer to the Life Recovery Model video as well as the Introduction to Core Issue Addiction Recovery. Both videos are on Forgive and Much Ministries' website. Under addictive influences, we avoid the anxiety of the moment instead of plotting toward long-term goals. Whether thoughts are deliberate and constructive or unintended and destructive, each follow the same sequence shown in this illustration. Regarding intimacy, yada is a Hebrew word meaning to know and become known. The thought of becoming known is especially challenging when we aren't sure of who we really are. Becoming known requires the discovery and sharing of our inner self. Becoming known is also one of the 7 desires of every heart written by Mark and Debbie Lacer. In short, addiction interrupts becoming known by avoiding facts and escaping internal conflicts. The concept of anxiety. Well, we may snicker when we consider these steps in the development of anxiety, thinking, hey, no thank you, I've got that one down. Let's look into this. The steps. First, there's an expectation, a desire, a want operating within the individual. Then that expectation is not met, followed by a vague apprehension or uneasiness arising within the individual, often not perceived, followed by an automatic relief behavior, and then justification of that relief behavior. Immediately, we might think of the addictive behavior as a relief behavior. And yes, ultimately our preferred method of coping is included, but we have many automatic relief behaviors cued by anxiety. Some are so common in our behavior, such as interruptions or tuning out, that we don't give them a second thought that they could be a relief behavior. Decades of family of origin research through Bowen theory prove scientific relational patterns adapting to anxiety. There is acute or real anxiety, a fear of what is. An example might be, Dad's drinking, he's yelling and he's hitting family members. We are not safe. Or chronic or imaginary anxiety, fear of what might be. Dad's on his way home. Oh, he might be in a bad mood. Fear of what might be often reflects an imbalance in the relational system. Other things to consider are that anxiety crosses all diagnosis, characteristics, and behavioral issues. Anxiety impacts every living organism, and the stress develops from the perception of a threat to our well-being and then the challenge to respond. As previously mentioned, Dr. Lacer describes addiction as an intimacy disorder. In an intimacy disorder, we manage anxiety with relief behaviors instead of identifying underlying emotions and processing pain. Emotions. Emotions are automatic reactions to internal and external mental and physical stimuli that are highly complex behavior patterns necessary for survival, which have been hardwired into our nervous system. There are two guidance systems in humans, the intellectual system and the emotional system. The emotional system is the oldest system. It is based on survival instincts and produces unconscious responses to stimuli. Feelings are within the emotional system and are the part of the emotional system that has risen to awareness. Feelings have a stronger influence on human behavior than the intellectual system. Feeling awareness is information that can be processed through the intellectual system to determine what response is best. This is key because once the feeling has been identified, the intellect can now override the emotion. When it comes to negative stimuli, anxiety is extremely contagious. In an emotional system, we don't have to be near the stimuli for it to affect us. In fact, we unconsciously are reacting to another's reaction to stimuli. Feelings are emotions that have come into our awareness. Positive emotional patterns are also set up in the nervous system, yet many of our negative hardwired emotional patterns are the ones wreaking havoc in our relationships. We sense the emotional stimuli, positive or negative, positive being love and confidence, or negative fear and anxiety, transmitted by someone else despite geographical distance or time. Negative emotions are the basis of hostility, those unrealistic beliefs and opinions found in isolation, referenced by Dr. Carnes in the cycle of addiction. Similarly, positive emotions are the origin of hospitality, found in community, referenced in Dr. Lacer's cycle of recovery. Next, I'll demonstrate the use of the basic reflective listening worksheet. Now, let's get started with the reflective listening exercise. As you're working through this exercise, select a current situation or struggle that you're facing. I will give two examples of how to use this worksheet in this video, the basic worksheet and the advanced worksheet taught in our core issue addiction recovery training. Either worksheet may be used individually or as a facilitator guiding another group member. First, we will use this basic reflective listening exercise as shown on page 209 and 210 of the Life Recovery Guide for Addictive Behaviors, and I'll demonstrate by inserting my comments in the spaces provided. Step 1. Choose an appropriate emotion and insert it into the space provided, then finish filling out the sentence. I feel sad about my mom's disconnect from family because I am unable to share life with her. Before we fill in the next sentence about stating our needs, let's look at the definitions assigned to each one. What do I need? I should mention that sometimes when you're going through the worksheet yourself or when you're in your life recovery group, you'll find that there is a real tangible need that needs to be met. You might hear, I need to pay my rent. That's a real need. Allow this fact to be validated, and then go deeper to uncover the desires of the heart. This slide highlights the work of Mark and Debbie Lacer, the authors of The 7 Desires of Every Heart. The book came out of their own wounds and healing journey and is based on Virginia Satir's therapeutic model, revealing that our problems are only symptoms of deeper desires. Let's look at their definitions. To be heard and understood is to be listened to about our feelings, our needs, our struggles, and opinions. To be affirmed is to be approved of who we are and what we do. To be blessed is to be special because of who we are, loved for who we are, and we don't have to do anything. To be safe is to be free from fear and anxiety, free to explore the world and take new risks. To be touched. This attributes to well-being, safe, non-sexual touch. Sexual touch is the energy inside us to be productive, passionate, and creative. To be chosen is to be selected, chosen for a special relationship, accepted, desired, the desire to be desired. Marriage is the desire to be passionately desired. To be included. Belonging. Broader than chosen. We need to belong. To be in community. We long to be a part of something larger than ourselves. This gives us a sense of well-being and security. Understanding the longings of our heart and uncovering the unmet needs that drive our behaviors is crucial to developing strategies to get those needs met in healthy ways. The Lacers state that it takes commitment not to look for a quick fix, and that it takes willingness to do the hard work of lasting change. I highly recommend reading their book. Returning to the worksheet, ask yourself, what are my next steps to get that need met in healthy ways? Now, let's fill in the space. With the objective of protecting God's best interest for my life and obtaining healthy intimacy to know and become known, ask yourself, what do I need? I need to be heard and understood, affirmed, blessed, and included. List your next action steps to get that need met. I need to share this with my accountability first, and then maybe write a letter or call my mom. Once you've finished with this worksheet, you process this with your accountability partners or a safe friend in your life recovery group. Remember, to achieve clarity during an emotional muddle, use a single worksheet to process each emotion. For example, I may have also been angry with my mom or feeling guilty. In that case, I would want to use a single worksheet for each feeling to define specific needs and next steps. And now I'll demonstrate the Advanced Reflective Listening Worksheet. What you see on your screen is the Reflective Listening Worksheet demonstrated in the Core Issue Addiction Recovery training. This worksheet is identical to the basic worksheet, except this version adds a step to uncover responsibilities or boundaries that are being challenged. This is based on Proverbs 4:23. Proverbs 4:23 is illustrated here. Above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. Cloud and Townsend, the authors of the book series on boundaries, categorize boundaries using 11 synonyms that you see circling the graphic. These synonyms correlate with Scripture's word study definitions. Heart, meaning inner man, mind, will, and emotions. Thoughts, reasonings, understandings, judgments, and the seat of desires and affections. The 11 synonyms are feelings, thoughts, values, limits, attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, talents, choices, desires, and love. Because these areas greatly influence our lives, the Lord commands that we take responsibility for protecting them. Entering into this exercise, we ask the Holy Spirit to reveal any area where we may be avoiding responsibility. We will fill in the spaces in the same way as we did in the basic reflective listening example. This time, I'll use a different struggle. Choose an appropriate emotion and insert it in the space provided, and then finish filling out the sentence. I feel fear about stopping masturbation because I've never been sober. For instructional purposes on this video, let's view the boundary responsibility definitions before we work on step 2. Please follow the annotation for each responsibility. For the full definitions, please see the download available on Forgiven Much Ministries website and the resource page on this video. The title of this document is called Boundaries Define Us. Feelings. Feelings play an enormous role in our motivation and behavior. They should not be ignored or placed in charge. You have to own your feelings and be aware of them. Feelings come from your heart, and they can tell you the state of your relationships. And feelings are your responsibility. Own them and be aware. Thoughts. We must own our thoughts. We must grow in knowledge and expand our minds. We must clarify distorted thinking. Because perceptions are distorted, and we have preconceived ideas, We are to actively check out where we might be wrong. Values. We won't guard what we don't value. What we value is what we love and assign importance to. Often we don't take responsibility for what we value. We are caught up in valuing the approval of men rather than the approval of God. When we take responsibility for out-of-control behavior caused by loving the wrong things or valuing things that don't have any lasting value, we confess to God so He can help us change. Limits. Setting limits on others and setting our own internal limits. Limit exposure to people who behave poorly and allow space inside ourselves to have a feeling, an impulse, or desire without acting on it. Attitudes. Attitudes have to do with our disposition, our orientation, or stance towards something or someone. Attitudes are learned early in life. Behaviors. Behaviors have consequences. We reap what we sow. The problem comes when someone interrupts the law of sowing and reaping in another's life. Beliefs. Beliefs are anything you accept as true. Talents. We are responsible for the use of our talents and gifts. We aren't chastised for being afraid. We're all afraid when trying to do something new and difficult. We are chastised for not confronting that fear and trying the best we can. Not confronting our fear denies the grace of God and insults both His giving of the gift and His grace to sustain us as we are learning. Choices. We need to take responsibility for our choices. This leads to the fruit of self-control. We need to realize that we are in control of our choices no matter how we feel. Making decisions based on another's approval or on guilt breeds resentment. Setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. You are the one who makes them. You are the one who must live with their consequences. And you are the one who may be keeping yourself from making the choices you could be happy with. Desires. Wants, dreams, wishes, goals, and plans. Hungers and thirsts. True desires versus lust, not knowing our real desires. God wants to give good gifts to His children. To know what to ask for, we have to be in touch with who we really are. And love. The giving and receiving of love. Our loving heart, like our physical one, needs an inflow as well as an outflow of lifeblood. Our heart is a muscle, a trust muscle. This trust muscle needs to be used and exercised. If it is injured, it will slow down or weaken. For this worksheet demonstration, I'll select that my thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are being challenged. Now, returning to our worksheet. Notice the bold blue words circling the graphic in the center of this illustration? This indicates what we are doing now. We are guarding our heart, our mind, will, and emotions. Pause, discern, God's best interest, and protect. By the way, GBI stands for God's best interest. This is noted in the worksheet instructions available on the resource page of this video as well as on Forgiven Much Ministries website. Now, let's pause. Reflect and meditate on the sentence, I feel fear about stopping masturbation because I've never been sober. Ask the Lord for insight, wisdom, and discernment, and then circle any responsibilities that are being challenged as you think about your sentence. As I've mentioned, I've circled thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Typically, there's an internal pull or even a resistance to one or more of the responsibilities as you're working your exercise. Make specific notes as to how and or why. I'll read my responses. I can't do it. It's the only pleasure I have. I'm angry. I'm sad and angry. I am dissatisfied with my life. I believe a significant relationship would help. Sit with this until you fully process the statement and reflect on the 11 synonyms. Don't be surprised if you require an extra worksheet to further process other feelings or situations that arise from the exercise. This is a good sign of productive efforts. For the purposes of this instructional video, I will insert the boundary and responsibility definitions related to this example. Ideally, in your own study, you would have your definition sheet close by. To get the most out of this exercise and its true point, we need to examine our responses and look for where we might be avoiding responsibility. Thoughts. Of course I can do anything and put my mind to. Is this really the only pleasure that I'm designed to experience? I need to challenge this distorted thinking. What other areas in life are meant to be pleasurable? And I need to pursue those. Feelings. My behavior has resulted from my feelings being in charge. I need to take ownership of my dissatisfaction in life, pinpoint where, and do something about it. Beliefs. Believing that a significant relationship would fix my problem keeps me looking for my value outside of myself and disempowers me. After reflecting on our challenges and responsibilities, it is time to determine our needs. With the objective of protecting God's best interest for my life and obtaining healthy intimacy, to know and become known, I ask myself, what do I need? What does this issue reveal about the deep desires of my heart? Notice the 7 desires of the heart at the bottom right of this worksheet. The full definitions will help you as you process, and they are also available on the resource page of this video and on Forgiven Much Ministries website. Here are my responses to what I need. I need to be affirmed that I can be sober and stay sober, that taking one step at a time, I can be free from this unfulfilling cycle. I need to know that I'm safe expressing this. I need to be touched in a safe, non-sexual way, shown that I'm cared for who I am and not what I do. I want to be chosen. I want to be chosen for a special relationship and not feel like I have to manipulate circumstances to get that. Once you've inserted your heart's true desire, list your next action steps to get those needs met in healthy ways. I'm going to share this with safe friends and accountability. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to work at becoming more emotionally mature. And I'll begin looking for ways that I can use my gifts and talents. And definitely increase my recovery efforts and reevaluate my recovery plan. Congratulations! Now that you've finished this exercise, you can process this worksheet with your accountability partners, safe friends, and your life recovery group. In closing, here's a quick note on accountability. As Christ followers, each of us have a role to come alongside others on their recovery journey to reflect and reveal God's glory, His favorable opinion and value unto others so that they may grow up into their full potential and identity in Christ, having the perception of Christ, the mindset of Christ, and using the language of Christ, especially positive language about themselves. And finally, let's close with the intimate conversation starter. What you see on your screen is part 2 of the reflective listening exercise, and it is also available as a PDF download. Once a person is comfortable with part 1 of the reflective listening exercise, this sheet can be used to help relationships become more authentic, where people can become genuinely known. For example, after using the reflective listening exercise, I might be fairly comfortable with a trusted person to disclose that I have seen patterns in my responsibility challenges and that I'd like to share those with another safe person inside or outside my group. This sheet would help me pinpoint and share those challenges. The other person should be open and at least aware of the reflective listening exercise and willing to use it as a means to get an intimate conversation started. Try it with a safe friend. Give them a copy of this worksheet. You might be surprised how easy it becomes to share your deepest challenges and that you aren't alone in the struggle. May God richly bless you and your efforts. I pray that the Lord anoints this exercise not only to bring you freedom, but to reveal the original God-ordained self that He has designed you to be, and then to strengthen your every step in your becoming known. God bless you. Stand firm. Be confident in Him.